your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Call. I know Kung Fu. You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
All right, so my piece of advice to anyone who's going to be watching this film on Haya is not to watch the English dub.
Oh, no.
Do not watch the English dub. And you guys are sensible. You guys are listening to our podcast. I'm assuming most of you guys are cinephiles in some way or form, or just there's movie heads. So you know not to watch the English dub if you have an option. I watched the English dub, knowing full well there was a Chinese dub. I don't know why I did that.
Wait, what do you mean knowing it was a Chinese dub?
So Haya has both versions.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
Yeah, well,
knowing that there was a Chinese. Okay, yeah, it has both versions. I watched both, was it Cantonese dubs each time? So what's so bad about the English dub, Will?
It's terrible. It is quite literally night and day. The movie is so bad in English. So I watched this movie 3 times. Mm-hmm. 3 times. Watched it twice in English. Mm-hmm. And I remember you saying how much you liked the movie, and I just could not understand it. I'm like, what are you talking about, Zero? Like, mm-hmm. The movie's so slow and boring. There's no score. Actually, no, that's not. There's no. Actually, no. Yeah, I take that back. There is no score. There's only one tune, that one melody that plays over and over.
That very sleepy, sad melody.
yeah. It's the same notes over and over.
Track over and over again. Yeah.
It's made especially worse because in the English dub, however they did the sound mixing or sound design, you could tell someone just recorded the original sound on like they played the original Chinese track mm-hmm. and just recorded it on their Walkman or whatever, and then they put it into the movie, and then they just dubbed English over on top of that. It sounds so bad.
No boy.
And there's no other score. There's no other music. No other musical accompaniments. It just sounds so bad. And when there's no score at all, it's an incredibly quiet film.
Yeah.
So that's the English version.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese version, the original version, for one, I didn't even know it was a Cantonese movie. I should have suspected, but yeah, I would have just watched that instead because I obviously speak and understand Cantonese. But yeah, watching, I'm like, why the fuck did I watch the English version twice? This is significantly better. I don't know.
You never do that. I almost never do that. I only do that sometimes when I already have a really, really good understanding of the story, and I just need to watch it for a refresher before we record this podcast. And I kind of want to do something in the background, but I want to listen to what is happening with the characters and maybe just get an alternative sense of an English dub, because sometimes they're not horrible.
Yeah,
but it sounds like that was not the case here.
There's no rhyme or reason for why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, hey, maybe we'll check out the English dub. I also thought it was going to be in Mandarin at first, so that's why I thought, okay, I'll just watch it.
You turned it on and suddenly you're like, I understand Mandarin.
Yeah, I was just an expert this whole time. No, I watched it in Cantonese. It fixes a lot of the issues. I still don't love the movie, but that might be because it's been tarnished with my English dub experience. But
so
the
we're
sword.
Talking about the sword. Yes, 1980s The Sword.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really interesting. It's really different. It's not like any other movie we would ever probably talk about. I believe the director, Patrick Tam, this might be one of his only action movies, martial arts movies, wuxia movies. Yep. Because when you look at the direction of this movie, this does not feel like a normal action movie director handled it. It feels very, very different. with the shot composition, with the editing, and even with how complicated the characters are all intertwined and ultimately affect each other.
Yeah. You know what this movie is? It's unique in that for a Chinese film or a Hong Kong production, for a story of this sort to take place in, but it wouldn't be abnormal at all if it took place in Japan or if this was a Japanese film, because this is a Chinese chambara film.
Yeah,
it's a samurai movie.
Yeah, when I was watching the cinematography a little closer and looking at the fight scenes, you have the typical stare downs, the reverse shot of the characters, the reactions to other reactions, and then the parallel motions going on within the fight scenes. And I was like, this is reminding me of kind of like Super Sentai type stuff. But then obviously that is inspired by chambara films. And I started to realize like, okay, this is not so much a Chinese wuxia film, but it feels very inspired by Japanese samurai movies.
Yeah, I'm thinking to, it says samurai, like a lot of Japanese films from like the 70s in their action category. Even to the story, down to the wire, like it almost feels like something of that caliber too. So, what is the story?
The story is,
maybe I should take it because I talked about it I watched the movie 3 times. No, you can do it. You can do it.
The story is about a swordsman who wants to fight an evil man. But the swordsman throws his sword into the sea after fighting because he wants to live in peace. Man,
no, you have to read the whole description. You have to read the whole description.
That is the whole description.
No, the film is set in the ancient city of the Song Dynasty. It was filmed in a provincial town in Shandong Province, China. That is the full description.
Man, bravo to that Wikipedia editor for simmering down the story into a thick sludge of 2 sentences. No, man, this story is so complicated. But the gist of it is about a man who wants to test his swords fighting skills against a kind of legendary master swordsman, and he's trying to seek him out. And in doing so, he runs into various characters who he actually all gets intertwined with their lives. And because of these strange coincidences, everybody is sort of affecting everybody in how he is ultimately trying to find this swordsman and test his skills against him.
Yeah,
kind of even more simplified version of the story, but that kind of fleshes it out a little more.
That is very simplified. And going into it, there's the reason why the movie's called The Sword is because, I mean, technically there's 2 swords, but there's one ominous sword that is the title of the movie. There's an evil sword, and that one is going to spell bad omens for anyone who wields it, or at least for the legendary swordsman who's introduced very early in the movie. And he decides not to part ways with it. He gifts it to a friend, and I won't mention any more than that because spoilers, but he gifts it away. But then the sword, one way or another, comes back into
his life.
His life, or the main character's life, who's obviously a different person. And that's where like it kind of plays with like destiny and everything, saying like, there's no escaping it. Like that sword's gonna, and also like the fact that it's ominous isn't the only thing. It's the fact that it's considered a powerful sword along with this other sword that's also pivotal to the movie. And that's another trait of Japanese cinema that we don't see a lot in Chinese media, which is like the legendary status of swords, right? Like Japanese media loves to like talk about like legendary weapons. I mean, like specific,
but
like
what
an
about
actual
the legendary weapons of China.
No. That movie's about legendary weapons, and
that's about all the weapons are legendary.
No, it's like this is a monk spade. It's a legendary weapon, not like this is the greatest monk spade that's ever been made in the history of China.
I think Lau Garlong would disagree with you there.
That is not the point of that movie. Here it is. It's kind of like that, and that's another influence of Japanese media or Japanese cinema. Which is, like we have a sword that's legendary and it's so powerful it can slice a man in half. But I'm definitely jumping the gun here.
Did you?
But yeah.
So did you notice the repeating patterns in the movie? The fact that things will happen various times in theme with what's actually being said with the film.
Maybe not. I don't know. I did watch it 3 times, so you might have to explain to me.
So I didn't notice this the first time. I kind of noticed this the first time, but it became really apparent the second time I watched this. Is the movie is about how seeking fame and glory can actually be very disillusionary to a person, and how that sort of pattern can just loop kind of forever. And what's going on with this main character, who is seeking glory by battling the swordsman, he's actually repeating a pattern that was probably happening to the original legendary swordsman. You'll notice that the first encounter in the first action scene that happens when we meet this random fighter who thinks that the main character is the legendary swordsman, they repeat similar shots when the main character ultimately meets the swordsman again, kind of showing you that this is happening over and over again.
Right. I guess I didn't get that much, but at least in terms of recurring theme, but it definitely is a strong theme, especially when the character develops or understands that as the movie progresses. And there's, along with that comes personal tragedy. There's a lot of tragedy that's
this is
the story in the movie.
Very heavily a tragedy.
Yeah. Again, very similar to, I mean, I keep on saying, the samurai film, but like you're going to get that kind of, even the ending I thought was very like akin to something like something that you see in like the 70s or like Japanese films, like where a warrior is, he does so much and he learns a valuable lesson, but it's too at that point, like he has to suffer the consequences of his actions, and it's kind of like a chain reaction going on here. And I guess the only other part of the story that we didn't really mention before was that there is and this might be important because we have to set up the quote unquote villain in the movie. I mean, he is the villain of the movie, played by Norman Chu. But he is the now husband of Adam Chang, who is the not Adam Chang, Adam Chang's childhood friend. Adam Chang is the main character of the movie, and so like there's almost like a tacit rivalry set up in the very beginning. But it turns out that that this man also is like he also is an expert in swords. It's set up pretty early in the movie. Like he fancies himself as a swords collector, and he's also trying to get these swords as well. Everyone in the end is trying to get these swords, or like find the legendary swordsman. So yeah, it's like a journey, and also like we meet all these other characters that you mentioned before. Like there's this other like potential love interest character I thought was what the setup was, and then just kind of immediately put that aside, like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, it's really strange that they introduced this woman early on, and they set it up for her to be the love interest. And it's weird. This goes back into the doubling and the repeating patterns. When they first stay in this inn, you notice that she is very eager to enter his, I guess you could say, the inn he's staying in.
Yeah.
And he's kind of trying to shoo her away. And then when she leaves, he finds out that his childhood friend is staying at a different room. And he does the same thing. Like, that pattern repeats. again, and you start to see how strangely the characters are connected to each other. Because then there's a third woman in the movie who seems like she kind of comes out of nowhere, but I'll point out this detail because I didn't realize this, and this comes back into kind of how everything keeps on repeating. She mentions in one quick line that she saved the legendary swordsman from dying like a long time ago. So he has given her like all this wealth, and he's the one that gives her the sword. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of interesting how she connects to the main character because she kind of stumbles upon him, and then they become intertwined as well. So it's weird how all these characters are connected. I don't want to go too into it because it's kind of interesting to see it unfold. But when I first watched it, I was really, really confused by everything.
It's funny. Even on my first watch, I just watched it 3 times for an abnormal amount of times. But even on my first watch, I didn't find it necessarily confusing. But I did find the movie went in a lot of different directions. But ultimately, at least like it comes to not satisfying, but like comes to a conclusive ending. Like everything, there was not any wasted moments in terms of setting up the final payoff of the film. Yeah. So that's what you want. Like you don't want like wasted scenes. Well, the movie's slow, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It takes its time. It requires a little bit of patience.
Strange whenever we get to a conversation between two characters, because the conversations happen in real time. It feels like real conversations, and you have no music sometimes, so you just sit with the characters. And sometimes you just have to really focus on the cinematography, because sometimes you'll see the camera is moving in a way to constantly switch characters on screen, or the characters are constantly moving to different locations on the screen. It's almost like a stage play, or it's almost like the director is intentionally trying to put characters in certain places to kind of say something different about their position in the conversation. Like I noticed it like the second time around. When 2 of the characters were talking, you constantly saw that one character was constantly trying to get to the right side of the screen, and another character kept on like getting in the way, or the camera kept on moving to change it. And I thought, oh wow, that's really interesting. I thought they were just kind of randomly moving around the room, but it actually kind of worked into the conversation like that.
Yeah, there's more dynamicism. God, I can't say that word, but yeah, there's more dynamicism in the cinematography in the movie. And if you're definitely honing in on the silence during some of these dialogue heavy scenes, you're definitely gonna notice them in the English dub. I'm just gonna stop talking about the English dubs because it's just significantly a worse experience. Do not watch the English dub.
So if you find yourself nodding off during some of these long conversations, you might be shocked when the director's like, okay, enough talk. Somebody's gonna crash through the fucking window now and just surprise you with some action, because man, the pacing of this movie is so wildly all over the place. It'll go from lulls because we're getting these intimate dialogues between characters, and then suddenly bam, 0 to 90, someone bursts through the wall, and then we get a fight scene, and you're just like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, and that person you're talking about is an assassin or bodyguard, and he's played by Eddie Ko, who we just talked about in The Miracle Fighters. So you were saying in that episode, like, oh, have we ever talked about Eddie Ko? I'm like, I'm sure we have.
Hey,
so
here we
are talking about him again. He has one line of dialogue in the entire movie. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Man, so I think this can segue us into the fight scenes now.
Sure, yeah.
And we can start specifically since we're talking about Eddie Ko. So he is the husband's hired henchman or assassin or whatever you want to call it. And it's interesting because I feel that they're really trying to make the fights visually distinctive, even though sometimes the choreography is not really that interesting or complicated. So when you have the fights with the assassin, they really make him out to be a person who can disappear into his environment. He can use the shadows, and he can actually literally hide off screen or off frame or use editing to his advantage.
Yeah.
Kind of like a ninja. I mean, you saying that this is probably inspired by Japanese film. He's probably supposed to be a ninja.
Yeah, clearly. It feels like, we're taking a right from the textbook of, Japanese film. So like I wasn't surprised to see it. I mean, I guess I was surprised to see that, but pleasantly surprised that we're gonna incorporate all that. But the movie never really not fully loses its Chinese kung fu or Chinese martial arts identity, in terms of the choreography, right? Because it'd be one thing if they're just clashing swords and then they go into their little stare off, like they're just basically standing in different sides of the room. We just have extreme close-ups of their eyes. Again, very similar to the samurai films. But we get that here. We definitely do. But when it comes to the sword play, it still feels like a movie of, well, I don't want to say of its era, because this movie came out in 1980. It feels like I'd say it almost feels like a early 70s Hong Kong film. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. It's kind of strange because we don't get minus the ending, we don't get really long, drawn out choreography where you sit on these shots of people just exchanging blows for forever.
Yep.
We actually get a wide variety of shots, camera all over the place, but not in a bad way. This is the kind of shaky cam and over editing I actually like, because the shakiness is not to an extent where the character is in an earthquake, where the cameraman is in an earthquake. I mean, it is waving around, and it feels like we're getting just big notions of what's supposed to happen with the action. But surprisingly, the composition's so clear, and the moves never get complicated. They're actually very simple at times when they're doing these fast cuts, but I feel that's in service of not trying to make us feel like the choreography is so complicated. It more so, I feel like they're just going for a feeling of these are the motions. This is what's happening with the fights. These are our characters moving around their environment, and then it's kind of over really quickly. Yeah. We have a lot of little skirmishes throughout this movie, like a lot. But then there are there's just like maybe select moments where the fight actually kind of stretches itself and goes on for a little longer, which feels more like a natural Hong Kong film.
Yeah, I actually think the fights in the film get better towards the end. I actually don't like some of the earlier film fights. Not that they're bad, but rather they're not as visually distinctive. They're not as memorable towards the end. The last two I can think of, they're unique in their own individual ways. I won't mention them like why specifically, but like I do think that the last two would like stand out a lot versus the rest of the film. I feel like the movie's so narrative driven, and the fight scenes in between all that are just okay, and they're short, like you said, so there's really not as much to gleam off of.
Yeah, I feel like they're short because, like you mentioned, the movie is more narrative driven, but they're there because they need to make us understand there is conflict happening between these characters, and it starts to get a little longer and longer as the tension builds between everybody, and then ultimately in the end we get what feels like a normal Hong Kong fight where it's this it's not Shaw Brothers, this Golden Harvest
Golden Harvest,
this Golden Harvest stage where the characters are fighting all over it. They're fucking going all over the place. They're fighting up the stairs. They're falling over chairs. They're flipping alongside each other. Then they're going outside, but then they're coming back in. Then they're going outside. Like it's going all over the place. And at that point, it feels really good because you can feel how tense everything was happening with the main character. and that was going on with the various love interests, and you understand how the villain of the movie was kind of, I guess, undermining him and using the main character to his advantage because he ultimately wanted something that he gets in the end.
Yeah. I'm curious, like in terms of the entire legacy of this movie. I mean, clearly this movie has enough fans. I'm like wondering, like, if was this movie an experiment to try to bring a lot of the Japanese, like influence it like over and like try and make it a mainstay thing, or is it just kind of like a one-off? Because again, I'm very intrigued by the final product here because it's clearly inspired by it, but and I know I'm kind of beating this over, being this like a dead horse, but like the movie is so unique, not only in terms of like the storytelling, but like the action too. And I feel like it straddles that line pretty well. It's not so slow to a point where it's like, they're just standing there all the time. But we still get a lot of like, even some like viscera, some like it can get kind of bloody at times, and it still looks kind of, has that 70s-esque like fake blood effect where everything's like bright red, but it's still there. Yeah, it's not even ketchup. It's like too watery.
Well, I think this just has to do with the director. He wasn't known for making wuxia films or martial arts films, and I don't believe he went on to make any more. I think he kind of made a really interesting first movie. Really crazy that,
according to IMDb.
Yeah, this is crazy that it's his first movie, but it's really wildly unique. I'm actually interested in seeking out some of his stuff now, just because I like the direction of this movie. But the action is I guess like not what I would expect from this time. So I think that's what separates it from its contemporaries as well.
Right. Yeah. I guess like we can go into the movie a little bit more. I mean, we're talking a lot of vagaries, but I mean, you guys kind of understand the general gist of things, but I definitely want to go into more specifics. So anything else you want to add, Zero?
No, let's get into it. So if you want to hear us go into detail about this movie, because there is a lot of detail with the plot, you should consider subscribing to us on Patreon, because there you can listen to the full uncut episode with our deeper thoughts on the film and going deeper into the action. And if you subscribe to a higher tier, you could listen to bonus episodes like, what do we have coming up next?
Which is, I don't know. I think we have Code of the Assassins.
Oh, a Hayao original. Because we're talking about Hayao movies, and that's,
oh my god,
that's an original film on the streaming service.
I think I chose that. I don't remember what we talked about, but it's there. The episode's there, so you guys can check that out. All right, with that said, let's talk about The Sword. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts. And that's The Sword. We finally finished. That's The Sword. It's better in Chinese.
Of course it is. Don't even mention the dub anymore. You've mentioned it so much. Everybody knows the dub shit. Don't watch it.
Yes, but
don't listen to it.
No, but I'm gonna say it ruined my experience of the movie. I actually really didn't like the movie until I watched the Chinese version. That helped a lot. But man, I guess that's on me though. I really I don't know what the hell I was doing. Interesting film. I think I'm more intrigued by the movie just because of its of like how unique it is. It's so different.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I liked it too. I remember sitting down and thinking, okay, this is definitely something special. I just kind of hated the pacing overall, because I mentioned earlier the dialogue scenes just feel like we're really sitting down and listening to people talk, and it kind of deflates any sort of momentum you feel after the action scenes. But then thankfully the director's like, okay, you're bored. Let's have a man crash through the wall and excite you again. So thankfully he had the foresight to rev things back up. But I wish the pacing wasn't so many hills and valleys. I wish it was a little more even.
Yeah. I think one of the only real complaints I have is a big one for me, which I've already said before, just a minute ago, which is the score. Because of the pacing can be slow, I don't necessarily mind that. But if you have the same melody playing every 2 minutes and not have a lot of variety in between, like it makes that pacing seem a lot worse than it actually is, right? Because you hear that tune over and over.
Oh man, don't watch Chunking Express. You're gonna hate California Dreamin' if you watch that movie.
Oh boy, all right. I'll definitely.
They play that track way too much in that movie. Fucking Wong Kar-wai, what the hell are you thinking?
Otherwise, you really, it's a fun tragedy. It's a fun tragedy. No, it's a fun tragedy movie. No, it's a like it's very well done in terms of like the efficacy of like the tragic story that all the characters embark on. But yeah, like the action in the action department, I thought it was just okay. I think the setups, the environments, that was more interesting than the actual choreography itself. So if you're looking for a movie with good choreography, I'd say that's not really that kind of movie. You might be more interested in seeing like how does someone like get around really unorthodox predicaments, I guess. And but at least I'd say that the final fight is a little bit more akin to like the kind of choreography that we usually cover and we usually like. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe check that out. But overall, I'd say the movie's good, but I do think you have to be in a particular mood to enjoy this film. It's a lot slower.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is perfect for a winter watch or a rainy day watch because the music is so sad and monotonous and weepy, but you could feel in the mood for something like that because this is a tragedy. This is about somebody seeking glory, and it is the emptiness that comes when you reach that goal, because ultimately there's nothing there that comes with it. So that's kind of what this movie is about. So if you're interested in something like that, I say check it out because I enjoyed this movie very much. Mm-hmm. And choreography wise, you're correct. It's not exactly the kind of choreography we like, but I did like the fights because I felt that they were visually distinct from each other, and they kind of stood out in my mind, even though it didn't get so complicated with the moves they were doing, at least in my opinion, until the last fight, because the main character and then the villain, they fight all over the fucking place, and then it gets a little supernatural in what happens with the villain's powers, and then it ends in a huge shocking surprise to everybody. Even the actor himself looks absolutely shocked at what they're doing. So yeah, it's fun. I like the sword.
All right. Well, what is that? That's the first movie that one of us has been like super ecstatic about in a long time. That has been on the Haya catalog. So, is that going to redeem Haya at the end of the? Because we're nearing the end of the year now.
I don't know if anything can redeem Haya at this point, but you'll have to keep listening to find out, because we have our end of year review of the whole streaming service experience coming soon. So yeah, you could stay tuned for that.
Yeah, or just listen to our episode about Kung Fu Fighters again, and you'll know how like this whole experiment has just broken my mind.